Welcome everybody to the Planning, Regulatory and Licensing Committee meeting of Wednesday the 3rd of February. Before we start the agenda, I'll ask Eric Morgan to read out what you have on the front of your agenda about the webcasting of this meeting.
Before proceeding today, I have to remind everyone that this committee meeting will be recorded and subsequently broadcast on the authority's website. The public seating areas are in view of the camera, and by entering the chamber and using the public seating areas, members of the public are consenting to being filmed. Please could committee members ensure that their mobile phones are switched off as they interfere with the recording. You need to use your microphones at all times when speaking. And during the meeting, if any member has any question or comments, please indicate to the chair by a raise of hands. Please do not activate your microphone until you have been called by the chair to speak, and ensure that you turn off the microphone when you have finished. Also, please could you ensure that your microphone is used when a recommendation is moved and seconded.
Okay, thank you for that. We'll go to the agenda. Item 1, any apologies for absence?
I've received none, Chair.
No one else. Item 2, any declaration of interest taking into account paragraph A and paragraph B. Councillor Goldsley.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Item 3 on the agenda. I'm a co-opted member of Borough Community Council, who are one of the consultees, so I declare an interest and I will be leaving the meeting.
It's a personal and prejudicial interest then.
No other declaration of interest? No. Right, we go on to the planning application on the agenda, and item 3 is P/15/0254. It's land to the southwest of Bryn Redwyn and to the north of Nantavedo Farm, Bedlinog. There is a report there, pages 1 to 14, and David Cross is going to take us through the report.
Thank you, Chairman. Okay, this application relates to an area of agricultural land located approximately 0.36 kilometres to the southwest of the main settlement of Bedlinog. The site itself comprises an area of open grassland measuring approximately 9 hectares, and the extent of the site is largely defined by a combination of postal wire fencing, trees along the southern boundaries, and dilapidated stone walls along the southern, western and northern boundaries of the site. A row of trees also cross through the centre of the eastern half of the site, and there's a woodland area located in the northeastern part of the site. Full planning permission is sought for the construction of a 5 megawatt solar farm for a period of 25 years. This will involve the erection of rows of photovoltaic panels laid in modules across the site, and will comprise a total of 17,440 panels. A number of service buildings and structures would also be required as part of the development, for example substations and inverter stations. A new access track would also be provided within the site, together with improvement works to an existing unmade track leading to the site. A detailed landscaping scheme has also been submitted, which would involve repairs and construction of stone walls along the boundaries, as well as the planting of hedgerows and a number of trees. As a result of the consultation exercise, objections were received from the Town Planning Division's landscape architect and the Design, Heritage and Conservation Officer. The main concerns relate to the appropriate location of the solar farm, which is considered to have a detrimental impact on the character of the landscape and unacceptable visual impacts. Additionally, there were objections raised by the Bedlinog Community Council, highlighting similar concerns to the visual impact and the effect on the views within Bedlinog, which would be detrimental to the character of that area. No other objections were received, though, from any of the other internal or external consultees. As a result of the publicity exercises carried out, we received 283 letters of objection, together with a petition signed by 164 residents. A summary of the main issues is set out on pages 4 and 5 of the report, which largely relate to the impacts on the landscape, the heritage, visual amenity, tourism and recreation, and ecology. A detailed assessment of the merits of the application is also set out in the planning consideration section of this report on pages 8 to 14. But in summary, the principle of the development is considered to be acceptable and is generally supported by the LDP policies, as it would contribute to meeting the national and local renewable energy targets. The impact on the historic designations, ecology, as well as highway implications and flooding risks are also deemed to be acceptable. However, the pertinent issues really for this application is the potential impacts the solar farm would have on the surrounding area, on the views from a number of locations, which include those from within the Bedlinog settlement, a number of public footpaths and open access land. The development would overall have a significant adverse impact on the character and visual appearance of the landscape, which cannot, in our opinion, be overcome by mitigation. In this respect, the harm caused is considered to outweigh the benefits of the proposed solar farm, and therefore for these reasons the development runs contrary to policies BW5 and TB7 of the LDP. Therefore it's recommended that the application be refused for the 2 reasons set out on page 14 of the report.
Thank you, David. Any questions from members? Councillor Brian Mansbridge first, and then Councillor Tony Chapman.
Mr. Chairman, we note the objections on page 4 of the report, and the officer have pointed out the items on section 210.1. In view of the contradiction between the two pages, I wish to have a site visit, please, so the committee can see for themselves.
Sorry, can you repeat that? We didn't quite catch what the contradiction is.
We note the objections on page 4, but on page 6, we note the contradiction for the for the farm. And in view of that, I'd like to put forward a site visit so that the committee could see for themselves the layout of the land.
Are you talking about the policy context?
Yeah. Numbers 12.10.1.
Yeah, that section refers to the criteria that the Planning Policy Wales says you should be considering when determining an application. I'm not quite sure what you mean, how that policy contradicts the objections raised. Obviously, the objectors are highlighting various concerns, which the policy rightfully says you've got to consider. Sorry.
The first bullet point says the contribution a proposal will play in meeting identifying national UK and European targets and potential for renewable energy, including the contribution to cutting out greenhouse gases. It's a green issue.
How does that contradict the points of objection?
Which page are you on, Councillor Mansbridge?
It says about the climbing centre. If anybody's been down at the climbing centre, you can't possibly see over the top of the mountain where this proposal is going to be put. In view of that, I'd like a site visit, please.
Can you confirm which page you were referring to there?
Because it's this,
Yep.
Chair. It's page 4, and it appears to be the 4th bullet point.
I think it's just worth pointing out that in the report itself, in the considerations, I don't think, whilst the objectors have raised the impact of the recreational use in the area, and they've listed the climbing centre as one of those, I think they're primarily just highlighting the fact that there are other sort of recreational facilities. The main sort of impact on recreational use is probably the trails, and for instance the loops and links trails, which are nearer to the site and on the opposite side of the valley. Those are the areas which are most affected and are raised as a concern by the landscape architect as well. Which yeah, and that's part of the reason for the refusal of the application as well.
So, just one moment. You've moved that we have a site meeting. There's been an explanation of some of the facts. You still moving a site meeting? Is there a seconder to having a site meeting?
Sure.
Is that you're seconding?
I'm
the
second.
motion? Sorry, could you put your speaker on?
Difference of opinion between internal consultees and National Resources Wales, CADU and GCAT on the impact of this scheme. So I would like to go down there and see myself, because I believe that visual impact at times is totally subjective.
Yeah, I'm advised that what you just said, Councillor Chaplin, is on separate grounds to point that Councillor Manbridge has made.
What we have is Councillor Mansbridge moving for a site visit. We have Councillor Chaplin seconded it for a slightly different reason, but nevertheless you have seconded that there be a site visit. We do need to take a vote now as to whether there should be one.
Just a minute, we need to clarify whether we...
And then we need to ascertain why we're going.
We need to take the vote for this site meeting, whether it's yes or no. Okay.
Straightforward. All right, fair enough. Right.
You either, when we've got the system on there, you either vote for a site visit, yes or no, against having a site visit. That vote is carried, and there will be a site meeting.
There will be a site visit. Can I?
Yeah.
Can I firstly ascertain exactly what we're looking for on the site visit? The grounds, the two grounds that you have both given? Yes? Visual?
Visual impact.
Which officers
Yeah,
would
you're
you
asking
like?
which officers would you yeah. Can you put your speaker on again?
I keep forgetting that. The landscape officer and the conservation officer, both, because their comments seem to outweigh those of the statute.
Will require the planning officer who's got conduct to the case. Highways? Just to the landscape countryside officer. And the case officer. Okay. I just need to check something else, Chair. Obviously, it's quite a remote site. Would you be expecting to view it from a number of places? You would. That's as long as we're away. Okay, so it's just arranging a date now, Chair.
Right. We will now go on to item 4.
Yes,
Uh,
we need Councillor Ernie.
Oh, yes, could you get Councillor Mansbury, Goldsworthy? Right, if you now go to item 4, that's P/15/0434. It's land at Mycenant Grove Park, and that's to consider report of the corporate director, pages 15 to 22, and David Cross is going to take this item.
Thank you, Chair. I just should point out, first of all, that the map at the front of the report on page 15, for some reason, slight errors come out in how the site is drawn. That essentially is the outline of what was on the previous applications for this proposal, and actually the line should cut the site in half so that the northern half of the site is actually not part of this application. It doesn't include Mycenant. I've got a copy of the plans if anybody wants to just to view that at all.
Going to see the plan yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless anyone objects, I'll continue to... No?
Hold on, David. Let every member see these plans so you're all crystal clear, please. Okay, if you're all quite clear now what we're talking about, and just for your information, the plan you've got there didn't go on the website. So as long as we've been told, you're okay to carry on with the application, okay, David?
Thank you, Chairman. Okay, so this application relates to an area of land measuring approximately 0.15 a hectare, and as I've alluded to already, it forms part of the residential curtilage of Mycenant, which doesn't form part of this application. As members will recall, there have been a number of previous applications on the site relating to its development for 9 dwellings back in 2012, which was initially refused, and then a subsequent application for outline permission was granted then in 2014. Outline permission is sought again for the residential development of the site, albeit on a smaller area, and all matters relating to the access, appearance, landscaping, layout and scale have similarly been all reserved for future consideration. The site area is smaller than the previous schemes considered, and the indicative plan submitted in support illustrates a potential scheme comprising 3 detached dwellings with a private drive that leads to 3 detached garages located to the rear of those properties. Again, that's only indicative. As a result of the consultation exercise, no objections were received. And I should point out that since the preparation of this report, we've since had comments from Environmental Health who have similarly raised no objection to the application. Furthermore, as a result of the publicity exercise, we had no objection from the local residents. As such, the merits of the application are set out in the planning consideration section of the report. Essentially, the principle of development is considered to be acceptable and has previously been established as such with the previous outline application. The retention of mice and ant and the development of the site with 3 detached dwellings is considered to be an acceptable approach, and subject to their design, the site could be developed without having an adverse impact on the surrounding area. I should also point out that an affordable housing contribution is sought from the developer in line with policies BW17 and AS22, of which they would be required to pay £13,000, which would be secured by means of a Section 106 agreement. As such, it's recommended that the application be granted outline permission subject to the conditions set out on pages 21 to 22 and subject to the applicant entering a Section 106 agreement.
Okay, thank you, David. Any questions from members? No? No questions? Any comments from members? Well, I've just got a comment because some of us can recall the history of the site, which is related in the report. And on page 17, there was an application withdrawn for 14 dwellings in January 2012. Then there was a further application which was dealt with. Permission refused for 9 dwellings on the 27th of June. That went on appeal and that was dismissed. And as has been explained, if you look at page 16, the second paragraph down, this is an indicative layout plan being submitted in support of this application, will illustrate a potential scheme comprising 3 detached dwellings with detached garages located to the south of the existing mice and ant property. And on page 19, under second paragraph of the design, it states the layout plan indicates a row of 3 detached properties along the southwestern part of the site with a setback from the main highway could provide an appropriate response to the existing pattern of development of the area. Clearly this is outline planning application, but is then subject, if it's agreed, to a detailed planning application. And that's all I have to say. Councillor Barrett.
Thank you, Chair. I totally agree with what you're saying because I'm delighted this plan have changed because, as you said, the initial plan of 14 houses was not suitable to the area. Now we've had the plans changed, we've seen it, and I'm totally glad that we carried on with our pursuit to get it right.
Thank you, Councillor Barrett. Any other comments? No. If not, I require you see the recommendation on page 21, the conditions, and 22. Could I have a mover, please, and a second, and if you could indicate before.
Yeah, I move recommendations, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Barrett.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to second this motion, Chair.
Wait a moment and be ready. Not yet, hold on. Is carried. It's passed. Thank you. Back to the agenda. And you find there under item 5 information reports, there's the usual delegated decision report list. That's from December to 31st of December. That's purely for information. Item 6 is any other business as deemed urgent by the chair. I have none. Can I thank you all for your attendance and declare the meeting closed. Thank you.